What is up, guys, and welcome back once again to another episode of Kerbal Space Program Career Mode, the Ebby Space Agency Journey, and we're here for episode number 21 today, after episode 20, where we decided we were going to prepare our Kerbonauts for life in long-term space missions. We did then send our first crew out to the surface of Minmus to start manning the Minmus refinery that we've got. We start off today's episode then in the mission control room, accepting a mission for the Isley Deep Space Telescope to take a picture of one of the moons of Urlum, which is the Uranus sort of equivalent in the Outer Planets mod. We are going to be taking a picture of Polter. We then turn our sights over to Tal, which I think is in orbit of... I want to say in orbit of Nidon, but yeah, we take a picture of that too, so that we can get that sweet science. We try to, but unfortunately, it says it was not zoomed in far enough. So we did what we did last time. We accept the mission, we complete it in the console, and then we basically just nullify any reputation and funding gain that we got from it. Effectively nullifies the contract, because honestly, it's not my fault really that the mod is limited. That is literally the best optical module we can get in the Cacti mod, and it's still not zoomed in enough, right, to view the planet. So I can't really do too much more than that with the window of time they gave me to do that mission. But yeah, we instead look ahead into the Strategia mod and the local science perk. We upgrade that from level 2 to level 3. We do then take another mission instead to take a picture of Ike. We know that's definitely close enough to have a look at, and yeah, we take the picture and get the science from that before turning our sights back home and to the North Pole, where the Duna 1 crew are still doing their preparation work and their practice run ahead of their long-term mission. So you see Bob there. He's hopped out into the neck-deep snow, and he's going to have a quick look in the laboratory module, making sure everything is sorted and simulating the same sort of experiments and work he'll be doing on the Duna surface on the red planet. After that, then, obviously, we start taking some crew reports, getting some science, and recording all that. Therefore, Bill himself then jumps out, checks over the science modules, and then starts grabbing some surface science packages. This is going to serve a twofold purpose. Firstly, we've not done the surface science or deployed science on the surface of Kerbin yet, so, you know, it kills that off. But also, this is what they're going to be doing on the surface of Duna. So again, this is all a trial run ahead of their mission. So obviously they're going to do all the same stuff they do on Duna, right? Drive around, set up surface experiments, and get scientific data. So Bill, happy that he's achieved that aim, he goes back into the nice warm cabin that he's got to continue playing a bit of Kerbal Space Program himself on the computer in his downtime. Bob then hops out of the lab and sets up the experiment packages and cracks on with that, basically making sure everything's all set up perfectly, reasonably well, and then performs some surface science experiments, sees just how far he can hit a golf ball from neck-deep snow. Turns out, not very far, but he records it anyway, and, records his score of the first game of golf played at the North Pole. From there, then, he opts back in again into the warm, and the science experiments start getting run sort of autonomously, and we send all the data off into the lab for Bob to start wading through. From there, then, we're going to leave them there to continue on their mission. So you see there, they've got quite a while left. They've still got 169 days. Their mission's probably going to take a bit longer than the Minmus crew, so they reasonably have to do a little bit longer up at the North Pole. Back over to Minmus, though. Speaking of that crew, they are now sending some. They are now starting to send their first ore up into orbit. So you see that those ore tanks are completely full. The retract landing gear on the ferry ship, controlled by the pilot. Well, I'll say controlled by the pilot, controlled autonomously by the pilot. I believe the pilot is Gwenany, and yeah, she is remotely controlling this ferry ship before it then does take off from the surface en route for the first shipment of ore to the fully autonomous refinery in orbit of Minmus. It is quite heavy, this thing, I'm not going to lie. It's full of fuel and ore, so it's pretty much just solid mass, but it does take off nice and easily. And yeah, we set the rendezvous up nice and simply there. You see, it does take a little bit of time, a couple of days to get there, just with how slow everything moves in orbit of Minmus. But we do eventually take up a docking port right at the end of the solar arm. We kind of ran out of docking ports very quickly on this thing. But yeah, the ore shipment docks to the end of that, and you see we've got quite a hefty wobble going on while we're transferring the ore across into the ore arm. So we're trying to do this as quick as possible, so we can just detach straight away to try and arrest that. So obviously, a long arm with a heavy weight on the end of it, it's going to pivot around quite a lot, right? But finally, we are able to then fire up the ISRU while we send the ferry ship back to the surface. Yeah, landing was very, very simple, to be honest. We cancel our horizontal velocity and pretty much just go straight down. Again, one of the reasons I like Minmus so much is it is just so easy to get around. It's stress-free. We land right next to it, and then we drive our way back to the base. One thing we did notice, however, was that we are using fuel on this craft and not really doing much with it. We take the ore up and then we have to wait for some of it to be refined to then refuel the lander craft. It's just not a really optimized thing. So we might need to look into how to fix that later on. But we, in the time it took us to do that shipment, we've basically filled up the ore tanks again, so it's about time to transfer that across. And yeah, we're in the background. We're going to continue doing these ferry missions until the fuel tanks are full. But yeah, you see us undock again, and it's pretty much just going to be almost a continuous process. We take off once more and set ourselves up on another intercept. At some point, I might have to like figure out exactly what heading I take off at to just go almost straight up and rendezvous with the station, and then obviously when we pass it, just sort of cancel the velocity. It might be quicker, but yeah, obviously for now we do it that way, and the ferry ship returns, having dropped off its delivery once again. Back on Kerbin, though, in the KSC, we are now looking at taking some more rescue missions. So 3 different Kerbals have all got themselves stranded here, and we need to do something about that. We also take a new airline mission to unlock a new airfield, which we're going to take care of first, just because, well, to be honest, we want to. It's been a while since we've done one of these, right? So we take off from the runway nice and simple. We've seen this thing take off a few times now. It's nothing really crazy or like new, I'd say, in these videos. So yeah, we take off and we're heading over to Leistran Airfield, I think it's called, or pronounced, sorry. So yeah, it was an interesting airfield. We descend through the cloud layer there, and the thing I like about this site is that you've got that big bridge to the left, just above the left wing. You see we fly pretty much right by it. We almost changed our our approach to a different runway just so that we could fly close to this thing, because it does look kind of cool, right? But yeah, we make our approach into the airfield without much further ado, and yeah, set down nice and easy. Still got to work on softening the landings, but yeah. We then obviously return back to the KSC without any further dramas. But we go back to the lab, and we actually unlock the ability to have RTGs and things like that, as well as a couple of new command modules. And we're going to grab ourselves a Nightingale rescue ship, strap a Scuffer Dreams booster onto it, just to start getting these rescue missions done. Remember, we do have the unplanned rescue probe, but that only fits 2 Kerbals, and we want to get this done in 1 launch. So, yeah, we launch from the pad again. We've seen this craft used with nothing really too crazy to write home about. But yeah, as we ascend away from the pad there, we're able to start sort of performing a bit of a nice early gravity turn. A nice simple craft to control, not some of the more unwieldy ones that we've had in previous launches. And yeah, we are now space bound to go collect those stranded Kerbals. The first, I think 2 of them were in low Kerbin orbit, and then we had to go a little bit further afield for the 3rd. I could be completely wrong, but we circularize with the first rescue or rescuee catching up to us. We tried to time the launch as well as we could to basically launch into an encounter, and yeah, we basically do 1 orbit of Kerbin before we make that encounter, so pretty straightforward. The landing for the booster was also fairly mundane. We've kind of got the hang of landing this thing now, so we're able to collect that. And yeah, we jump over then to Carson Kerman, who has got herself stuck in a Mark 1 crew module there. So she hops out and into the seat, and is the first Kerbal to be rescued. But not the last. We then power on over to the next craft that we need to recover, and that is Staten Kerman, who has also got themselves stuck in a Mark 1 crew module. So I don't know if these 2 came from the same craft and it's broken up in low Kerbin orbit, but we recover both of those fairly simply before then setting our sights on Minmus for the what feels like the millionth time in this series, but this time it's not to do anything with the infrastructure. It is in fact to go ahead and rescue someone from orbit, and that is Very. Very has also got himself stuck in a Mark 1.5 crew module, so different style of craft, but still the same predicament and requires our help. So he floats on over to the craft, gets himself nice and safe within the Mark 1-2 command pod there, and we return on home. We were a little bit marginal on fuel, but we make it back under our own power. We don't need any further rescuing. That would have been embarrassing. And the crew then floats on down to the surface and splashes down, ready to be recovered and added to our roster. So you see there we have ourselves some new Kerbals. I can't remember if they were all useful, but we definitely pick up a couple that we add to the roster. Into the VAB now, that we do mention. Oh, sorry, we did mention earlier that obviously we needed to optimize the ferrying process for the ore to the station in orbit of Minmus, and this is what we are doing to remedy that issue. Right, we are essentially sending a smaller version of the ISRU to the base so that we can refine fuel on site. So we can keep the ferry ship nice and fueled up at all times. It essentially means that we can, whatever ore that we do take up to the station purely goes into the onboard tanks so that we can speed up the process of fueling the Duna 1. But yeah, we then just build a basic sort of launch stage. We didn't use a reusable booster or anything for this because it was very light. But I'll take you to the launch of that now. I don't know. Yeet. Thrust to weight isn't that great, is it? Jesus. Oh, lordy. So yeah, despite us deciding that the payload was light enough that we didn't need to use a Scuff of Dreams booster, it was heavy enough to affect the thrust weight of this launch stage. That is also a little bit wobbly, but yeah, we get up into orbit without any issues. We set ourselves up on a path to Minmus. All that good stuff. Yeah, we decouple this thing before it gets into orbit of Kerbin, so that lifter stage basically just falls back to the planet, so we're not cluttering up space, and this thing then arrives at Minmus under its own power, because, funnily enough, it's got an ASRU, it's going to a mining base, any fuel that we burn is absolutely fine. It's got plenty of fuel to do so, and we kind of style this out with almost like a plane-style landing with this thing, but we decide better of it at the end and pump the brakes just before we started braking landing gear and rolling stuff. So in order to make room for this, we didn't want to have this permanently on the end. We instead decide to sort of place it between the two. You see there, we've got one of the crew members overseeing the docking procedure, and yeah, we place place it in between the station and the ferry ship, and that is essentially going to feed the ferry ship with plenty of fuel in the days to come. Looking up, well, pretty much straight up from the mining base, we are at the refinery now, and the first load of fuel is now ready to go over to the Duna 1. So we pull the transfer ship out and move it in line to dock and pick up these two liquid fuel tanks. We then undock, and rather than having them both at the front of the craft where it's going to throw off the center of mass and thrust and all that, we decided in the design process to actually place a docking port on the bottom as well, and essentially just keep the RCS and the reaction wheels in the middle of the weight, right? Yeah, we dock both the tanks where they need to be, and start the burn to return down towards Kerbin. This took a bit longer than what I was anticipating at the time. Obviously, these nuclear engines aren't exactly the biggest, right? They're not they don't have the highest thrust to weight, but they do the job, and eventually we do actually arrive next to the Duna 1. The only docking port that's free is the one in between its own nerve engines. So we move the space tug that we left there out of the way and go ahead and dock and start transferring the fuel. Now, you might think 2 of these big tanks of fuel is enough to fuel it in one, and you would be horribly, horribly mistaken. That we still have plenty of trips to do with this craft before that becomes the case. But again, we're going to do most of those sort of behind the scenes so that you guys can skip ahead to the good part, right? We basically redocked one fuel tank to the ore arm with the craft. With the space tug, followed by the other, just because we actually used a lot of monoprop controlling that transfer ship, and we barely had enough to then redock it to the arm itself. We definitely didn't have enough to dock it and the fuel tanks. But we hop back now to Kerbin, and we've re-requisitioned the Atlas cargo aircraft, and Valentina and Dudeming are flying over to a rather stormy-looking Polar Research Alpha airfield. Yeah, trying to put it down in a snowstorm was not the vibe, and you see we come up with this janky approach and landing, but we do somehow managed to butter the landing almost, to be fair. That was probably smoother than most of our landings in good weather, so maybe I need to start landing in storms more. But we put it on the deck nice and safely, and yeah, we prepare to bring back that rover base and the Duna 1 crew. More importantly, their time at the North Pole is done. and they are free to drive back. Rather than doing just a crew transfer and bringing the crew back alone, we figured it would be more prudent to bring the whole rover base back, right? So Bill, having been the load master on the flight that brought it out here, is now hopping out to go and set the aircraft up to bring it home. So he goes in, he sets up the telescopic joints, and then waits for the the rover base to make his way in as Jeb floors it into the the cargo bay. Yeah, I mean, once it was in, it slots in fairly well. It's a little bit snug, but it's not like horrific. And then yeah, once it's safely inside the cargo bay, we undock the central hitch and then secure it to the aircraft. Yeah, Bill then runs around and then hitches it up on the other side, making sure that both halves are secure. Because the last thing we need is the payload being loose in the cargo bay and rolling around during flight, right? Having secured the payload, he then decides he's not really going to go back in the base with the other two. He's had enough of their company for now. He instead hops up into the cockpit with Valentina and Dude Ming and regales them of tales of his shenanigans in the North Pole, winding up Bob and listening to Jeb's piloting stories as they take off from the Polar Research Alpha Station through the clouds and up into the skies once more, set for home. Yeah, the Duna 1 crew then are going to get a couple of days of rest at home before they then board their transfer shuttle bound for the Duna 1. But before then, obviously, we still have to finish fueling it up, and yeah, we will get to that in a future episode. But for now, guys, that is the episode. You see a couple of new ribbons for the big three there, but yeah, we will see what is next in store for them and the Duna program in future episodes. But for now, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Goodbye.